Hello there. Trying a new podcast option to record my comments on the struggle bus for review of Unit 12 and some of the things that we struggled with in that particular section. So let's get to it. In total, the performance on the quiz was really pretty good. A few key items that I wanted to go back over that seem to be problematic for a lot of us are when we look at the components of successful dairy nutrition programs. There was 4 correct answers on that particular section, and we really need to focus on a few different things here. One of the correct answers was high-quality forages. You absolutely need to have high-quality forages within your dairy nutrition program. They are the cheapest source of nutrients that you're going to have, and if you have poor quality forages, all you're really going to end up doing is supplementing those forages with purchased grain off the farm, which then, of course, increase your cost and probably is a net no gain when it comes to production. Second correct answer in that particular question was a sufficient bunk space. Cows require 2 feet of bunk space per head when we talk about milking cows, and it varies a little bit whether you're going to then dry cows or heifers up and down a wee bit. But cows need sufficient, comfortable bunk space to be able to consume the necessary TMR that they're needed to remain highly productive. Next on the list is high dry matter intakes. Anything that we can do to get cows to eat more feed typically is supportive of them being more productive, whether that's increasing palatability or a proper amount of dry matter in the ration or the proper amount of moisture or the proper taste. Any of those can increase dry matter intakes, which usually result in more production, less stress, less metabolic problems. Then lastly is we should approach our ration building successfully with no free choice ration components. And what I mean by that is not having anything out there that they have to go pick and choose separately that's a key component of their diet on a daily basis. Now, there is a few exceptions to that, and the reason that I left that as a correct answer is the only few exceptions if you want to supply some supplemental things in order to simply make available some things that will help them be more comfortable from a gut standpoint, like sodium bicarbonate or a little bit of extra free choice hay. There's some validity to that, but for the most part, the main components of our ration, what's necessary on a day-to-day basis, should be supplied in the TMR. The next most missed question was on cow comfort and which systems would provide the most cow comfort situation for the cow out there. And many of you selected free stalls, and I understand why that would probably be viewed as one of the most comfortable options because it's the most common option out there. However, if you give cows really a choice on free stalls, even if they're really, really good, or anything that's considered loose or open, they're probably going to pick the loose and open almost any time, simply because it's a matter of space. And so the 3 correct answers in that particular question were a compost bedded pack, loose housing, and pasture. Those give them much more square feet per cow. It provides much more comfortable lunge space. It's generally a situation where it's maybe a little bit more ventilated. And then, finally, they don't have to worry about bumping into anything whenever they get up, whenever they rise from the lying position. So those are the 3 most correct answers there. So the question then begs is, why don't we do that all the time? Why are free stalls the most commonly noticed option out there, most common choice in building structures over a compost bedded pack or loose housing structure? And that's a simple it's a simple choice of management space. It's much more efficient to put cows in free stalls and then make them as comfortable as we can. And generally speaking, they're just fine and much more productive. But if we went to loose housing or compost bedded pack in the bulk of the dairies out there, you would then encounter a situation where the structures become so large and inefficient that we lose some of our productivity. Then finally, there was a little struggle with regard to milk replacers, and what's some of the advantage there, and certainly dependent upon the milk price, and especially if you're pulling milk that is saleable, it could be sold, gone down the road in the milk truck. A cost advantage is there in order for you to feed milk replacer. So dependent upon the milk price, certainly there's part of that there. Now, if you have non-saleable milk, like treated milk that you can make sure that it is pathogen-free by sending it through a pasteurizer, then that's a comparable comparison, but that wasn't part of the question. Next correct answer was, we have the opportunity in milk replacer to include antibiotics with veterinary prescription so that we can treat or prevent any respiratory diseases that may occur in calves that are very common. And then lastly, it's a measured intake issue. We have the opportunity to then control and know what calves are drinking on a regular basis. If we remove them from the cow and put them on milk replacer, we know exactly what they're consuming. We know exactly the nutrient content of it. And so it's much more consistent intake levels of the proper nutritional levels. That kind of wraps up my comments on the struggle bus in Unit 12. Hopefully you find that helpful as you jump into Exam 3 here. So we'll try this again sometime. Hope that helped.